Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In today's lecture, I'm gonna talk about blocks and how they can actually affect their architectural work and how can actually ease the process of the documentation and the design. This is again lecture 6 in the second part. So let's start. And our basic command is block, and it's just actually allow you to group or gather a bunch of lines and arcs and anything you want and change them into a block, and allow you by that to consider that as a one object that you can copy and repeat easily without selecting all these individual small lines. And actually when you edit one copy of it, it can be a reflect back and edit all the copies of the same block available in your drawing, which that gonna fast rapidly the work process. It's very similar to group, and again there is adjoining. That's two different options similar to it, but we're gonna focus today in this lecture on block itself. So let's assume that we want to create another door here inside the wall. And in this process, or in this operation, we need to take a copy of all those lines one by one, and that might we forgot the small bits and pieces around here, like this guy, or like whatever small line or small object that we have. And we go ahead and move it to the side, and if we forgot a part of it, or we want to change one part here, we have to go change all copies around the world here, and that's really a time-consuming process. And here comes the place or the need to create one object that actually similar to any other object, to create one object like this guy or like this door that can act similarly to all the copies or instance that you might insert in your drawing. So I'm gonna start by deleting the other copies that I have and getting rid of all. As you can see, I'm zooming in here, and to activate the block command, it's just as simple as pressing on B for block and hit space. And now we need first to give it a name. So again, for my students in the lecture, I really advised them to strict naming. So we're gonna call or start by the name itself for the architectural element, which is door, and then you go single because it's a one leaf movement. And then after that, I'm gonna hit a 1000 mil, and that's the width of the door. And then I will go and write that it's in the plan, so I know what is it. And when I have a couple of hundreds doors in a complicated project, it will be really easy to read that fully detailed name and understand what the block contains without going and inserting one by one, try to measure the dimension to know what is it. Anyway, so I'm gonna select the objects. I'm gonna select those two things here and here, and make sure that this line here it's also selected. When you finish selecting object, just hit space, and you must actually pick point here. You have to specify the point. So I'm gonna pick this as a base point, or the point where I actually gonna hold that line, that block from. And as you can have a look in here, the order that I'm going to do is to convert the group of line or those bunch of lines into a block. So it's going to remove what actually exists here from the original line and change them into a block. I can write here, go ahead and write some description to specify what is it and whatever in it. Anyway, I'm just going to ignore it and say okay. And now when I click on it, any place, it will act like one object, and it allow me to see this insertion point, and as a base for moving or manipulating with the object itself. So now you see, now it's easier to copy that from this insertion point to any other point like that. I can just easily copy the block and the two lines, and move that, let's say around 2000 mil, and easily I can trim that line and that line with the grid line being locked, you know, like it won't take like more than a couple of seconds. When I want to mirror, again, it's one object. I can go specifying a midpoint between 2 points. So I'm going to hit this guy and this guy, and you see I do the mirror, and the process is way much easier by changing those group of lines and individual lines into a one object, which is a really much more professional process. So now we created the block. Now we knew how to copy the block and how easy to copy and actually even mirror it. And we know also how to name it. And again, the naming process is really important. And anytime you want, just double click on the wall, on the door itself. That's the name. You know, that's the full name of the door. And you can now do the most important other advantage of the door, which is allow you to change that door and reflect that change to all its instance or all copies available of it in the drawing without the need to change each one of them individually. And that can be done easily and simply by double clicking on the door, and again now the place where you see the name, and you hit OK. And now you notice that everything, all AutoCAD is disappeared, and it's open for us like a block editor. That's a block editor here, as it said. And that's good because all the lines again here in the door layers, and now I can just throw a line here, and just for the threshold like this. If you want, I'll go match property and shoot that to be in the same layer, which is the door layer. So now I have this threshold, like it's been specified. Now when I want to finish saving this, don't turn on AutoCAD from here. Just turn off the block editor like this, and it's gonna ask you to save changes. Of course, yes. And now you see that's the magic. It's fixed it in here, and it's all fixed all other copies. So imagine if you have hundreds of those, like it's gonna be a painful process to finish one by one how to fix or amend those lines or those doors. If they were if they are not locked, will gonna be like a mission impossible. So now let's assume if I zoom in here and I want to add a circle, so later on when I print it, I can specify it's D1 or D2. So just add a circle here. Again, double click and open. I can just go ahead, like a circle here. I'll use match property to make it in the same layer. And I'm going to close this editor. See again, it's beautiful. All of them change with one click. That's the power and the beauty of using a block. And the same thing can be done if you open that and delete. So not only adding, but also deleting. You can just keep that for the different hatching process. And as you can see, it's really nice and really quick. And at any time, if you want to like rename that, you can use the rename command, and choose the blocks, and that's your door. If you want, again, just rename. If you've forgotten the exam, especially that you name it incorrectly, just select the blocks because it's a blocks, and the single door, that's the old name. Rename it to, let's go ahead and name it like a door underscore single underscore 1000 mm, and then underscore plan, and hit OK. Okay, so that's, you have to copy this name. So that's the origin name, which is just click on it or copy it again. Click on it, so that will goes in here, and then write the new name and hit OK. And now when you select that guy, you see that it's actually been renamed properly. So now that's been said, again, now the whole block is inside, or actually been placed in the incorrect layer. You see that now I am in layer 0. See, and it's accidentally or by mistake it's been done, which is a really nice thing, because it's gonna help me to explain the next possible types of mistake that you might have, like this one, for example. Now, when I created, now what is the actual current or default layer? Hit escape a couple of times. You know, like you see this property panel telling that the default layer is 0. If I go to LA and activate that, you see that's the stick in here. So that's the default layer. So now this guy actually is in the default layer, 0. And it shouldn't. It should be in the door layer. So when I go ahead, you know, like LA, and turn off the door layer, it should turn off those guys, even if it's done, because the actual content of it is in the door layer. See, it's working, but it shouldn't be organized this way. That isn't a right thing. So this guy should actually be in the door layer, as the overall block, you know, is actually in the door layer, while the inside of it should actually goes to layer 0. So that's might be a little bit confusion for you. But again, see, that's a door. It's the outside shell, which is the block, is in the layer 0, but the inside of it, if you remember, we actually created them, see, in a layer, in a door layer. So what you should do, actually, you open the block, either select everything and go to the layer and place it in the layer 0. I think that's the only case where you need to put things in layer 0. Close that, save the changes. Now you see the color is changed. If you remember a couple of minutes ago, if I hit undo and undo again and undo again, you know, you remember now it's in layer 0 and the color should be by layer white, but the door is red. So why the door? It's not actually following the current layer properties. That's because the inside content is placed incorrectly. So you have to go inside the door, inside the block actually. Everything inside it, you should make it in layer 0. Now save changes. Now it's gonna work properly. Now you see it's inside 0 and it's the default layer. So whatever you change in here, now if I go to the door layer, now it's red. That's the right thing. So you should, you know, all your doors, place them as blocks. See, as a blocks, you should place them in the door layer, but the inside lines inside this block, as I open it again, they actually should be in the 0 layer or the default. So whenever you're gonna change, whenever you're gonna copy paste that to a different file, whatever update you do to the color of the door layer, it will, or it's actually obligated to change that, you know, directly without going back and giving you warning messages, or stay white as it's or stay red actually as it was showing before. So that's one of the annoying issue you have to consider when we work with doors, that you replace the door as a block in the appropriate corresponding layer, but the inside content again should be in layer 0. Anyway, so that's about it for a basic introduction for how we use blocks. You can go ahead now and, you know, have the command block and, you know, go window, and quickly let's go 2000 mil, and again a plan. Let's define, let's have quickly another example, which is the window, and pick point. I'm gonna use this guy, and, you know, okay. Now let's get rid of this. Now you see this guy is a block. Copy it and simply place it, you know, here. And now we have another example of, you know, doors and windows, and we have to again go fix that. So all of them should be in a layer 0. Close, yes. Now you see, now you select all of them and throw them in the window layer. That's the proper way of what you should have actually. Anyway, I wish that you find this video useful, and I'm gonna proceed in the next videos to give more details about deeper information about blocks, what you do if you need to get rid of them and explode them, getting them back to their original lines and arcs, and how you can insert a block, write a block, all that in the next videos. I wish you find that useful. Again, thank you very much and have a good day.